What is up, my beautiful people? My name is G-Vans and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be talking about the new album by Casey Veggies and Rocky Fresh entitled Fresh Veggies 2. This is the new collab mixtape by Rocky Fresh and Casey Veggies, which comes to us about 6 years. 6 fucking years since their first installment of Fresh Veggies came out back in 2013. That instantly became a fucking underground classic, where it consisted of Casey Veggies and Rocky Fresh adding their own little like unique and underground twist to the whole trap vibe, which was like getting a lot more popular at the time. I feel like, I'll be honest, I definitely was not expecting a new project by Casey Veggies this soon, because last year's Organic by Casey Veggies came out about 4 years after not hearing anything from this dude. You know, I've been waiting since like maybe sophomore or junior year of high school to hear some new shit from Casey Veggies, and I just never heard it. And last year, you know, we finally got it, and I just wasn't expecting to hear a new project by him so soon. Now, for those of you who were really big fans of Fresh Veggies #1 and are here hoping that the sequel is better or at least just as good as the first one, then you might get a bit disappointed, because to me, in my opinion, this album is just like not Now, for those of you that were really big fans of the first installment of Fresh Veggies and are hoping that this sequel is either better or just as good as the first one, then you might come into this album a bit more disappointed, because to me at least, this album is not as good as the first one. Now, don't get me wrong, this project is a fairly decent album, but when I compare it to the first one, I just really can't make comparisons, because the first one was so classic and so original, and this one just seems like it's a bit all over the place, if that makes sense. Honestly, for the most part, albums that are sequels to another album aren't usually that great. The only two albums that I can think of right now is Rolling Papers 2 by Wiz Khalifa and Bobby Tarantino 2 by Logic. You know, those two are fairly decent projects and are a fine addition to their discography for sure. But when I compare those two to Bobby Tarantino 1 and to Rolling Papers 1, you know, those albums are just super fucking classic, and you know, these sequels just sort of like it just doesn't feel the same, if that makes sense. The reason why I felt that the first Rocky Fresh album was so classic, it was because it was really unique and a lot more different than most of the trap music that you would have heard back in 2013. You know, Casey Veggies and Rocky sort of like kept it true to themselves. You know, they kept it original, and you know, they stayed true to their like original like underground style, so sort of giving people a reason of why the underground is coming back and why it's a lot more better than the mainstream hip-hop that we see right now. However, this project to me sounds as if Casey Veggies and Rocky Fresh were trying to adapt to modern day times, you know, just trying so hard to fit in with the new school, and you know, just doing what everybody else is doing, and it just really didn't work out. The production value on this album is, for the most part, not that special in my opinion. You know, it does give me a lot of those like Travis Scott vibes, which I guess is pretty cool, you know, that they are kind of reminding me of Travis Scott, but it just feels like the same sort of trap shit that I've been hearing for a while now. But it does have its qualities and its big highlights, especially when it slows down a bit, and you know, they use a bunch of like acoustic guitar and shit. So that's where I think the production value does shine on its own. A lot of the tracks that I don't like on this album are mostly due to the fact that Casey and Rocky are just like really throwing away a lot of their potential, in my opinion, throughout this whole album. You know, as they just like try to make a bunch of these basic ass, you know, trap songs that you hear on the radio a lot, which I think is really unfortunate, because these two were a fucking force to be reckoned with back in 2013. You know, every time they come together, they make some pretty dope shit. And I just feel that most of the tracks on here just like didn't really it just didn't really impress me or like made me think that they like improved a lot. There are two things on this album that keep it from being not enjoyable whatsoever for me, and one of those reasons is that Casey and Rocky do thankfully improve a lot towards the end of the album, as they, you know, make some more lyrical shit. You know, they take themselves more serious, they do some more like open and vulnerable shit. I think my favorite track on here is probably the song entitled M.O.B., because that one, in my opinion, is the only like song that stands out and that sounds a bit more different. You know, that's Casey and Rocky doing this sort of like hardcore modern gangster rap vibe. You know, it kind of sounds like a Schoolboy Q like classic song. It just overall was something that I wasn't expecting, and it sounded really fucking great. And the other reason that's keeping this album from being completely not enjoyable is the fact that the guest list on here is actually pretty fucking great. You know, I think it's probably a lot more better than the first one. You know, Casey and Rocky, they team up with a few underrated rappers and a few legendary rappers in the game right now. And although I could talk about all of them, I want to talk about my three favorite songs with the features. Wale shows up on this album on a track entitled Walking Accomplishment, and besides that song being an obvious, you know, big flex mode sort of song, the reason why I do like this song a lot is because it's a really like great lyrical banger. You know, both Casey and Rocky are obviously trying to keep up with somebody as great as Wale. You know, that man has a fucking great flow, you know, and he has the fucking lyricism of a fucking monster, you know, sometimes. And, you know, just hearing, you know, both Wale and Rocky and Casey just fucking doing this sort of like tag team thing, you know, it's honestly like really fucking great. Currency also shows up on this album on a track called Demeanor/Messy. It's a sort of like interlude in the album. And I was really surprised, you know, I never expected Currency and Casey to like do a song together, but they did, and they sounded really great. You know, Currency and Casey are from two like different times, honestly. You know, Currency being, you know, one of the OGs, and, you know, Casey being, you know, a really great modern underground rapper. And it just really like sounded so great. You know, it sounded like that classic like early 2000 and, you know, kind of like mid 90s like classic gangster rap song. You know, it just sounded really great. You know, not too fast, not too slow. You know, it was just at like a really like calm pace, and it just really sounded really great. And finally, Hit Boy once again shows up on this album. He showed up on, I think, maybe 3 tracks on the first Fresh Veggies album, and he only shows up on 1 track on here, unfortunately. But it's on the track entitled "Miss My Dogs," aka "Long Live Nip," which that one is pretty much, you know, their whole like their little tribute to not only Nipsey Hussle, but to anybody that they have lost, you know, due to gang violence, and just, you know, anybody that has passed away like way too soon. That one is more of their more like open and vulnerable one. It is the final track on the album, which I thought was a really like a great thing to do. You know, just sort of end off the album, and, you know, just sort of paying the respects to everybody that got them and supported them to where they are now. And it just overall sounded a real great. You know, I am mostly used to hearing Hit Boy and Casey do like some like hardcore dumb shit, but I really liked how they both like sort of like kept it slow, and, you know, just stayed a lot more chill in this song. And, you know, it was just a really like sad song in general. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Overall, although this album does have its flaws, and although I don't think it's as great as the first one, it is a fairly decent mixtape. You know, it is a mixtape worthy album, and I'm sure that anybody who was a really big fan of the first Fresh Veggies would not be that mad at this album, because, you know, it was 6 years in the making, and for the most part, I would say it was a bit worth the wait. You know, like I said, I do have my flaws with it, I do have my problems with it, and I don't think it's as great as the first one, but it is mixtape worthy, so I do recommend this one to all the Casey, Veggies, and Rocky Fresh fans. You know, it was 6 years in the making, but I think it is something that you guys might fairly enjoy. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed my review, don't forget to like, subscribe, click that bell down below, all that good stuff, so you don't miss a single one of my uploads whatsoever. And don't forget to stay happy.
Still on that mob shit, niggas flex and get robbed shit. Capital One bitch, like what's in your wallet? Niggas flexing ain't got shit.